All right, hey all. Today we're going to talk about the bigger deals. So I want to talk today about commercial maintenance, and I also want to talk about how I was able to sell multiple six-figure plus contracts over the years, and what that entails, and kind of what that looks like. And so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that. I want to talk about like how you're going to get there. Like, you can sell 100,000 plus landscape maintenance contract, but you have to have a few things in order before you do that. And I think one of the biggest things that you have to focus on if you're going to move into that realm, and maybe you're already doing commercial work, maybe you're doing residential work. If you're just doing all residential work, depending on what it is that you're doing, you might want to pick up a smaller commercial job, maybe a small business, local business, or maybe some restaurants or something that are smaller that you can start with to kind of get your foot in the door as far as dealing with commercial maintenance. But once you're doing it for a while, and if you've been doing it for a while, you can start going after the bigger animals. So I have a property here that is well over $100,000, and it's a base contract of $101,000. I'll put the graphic up right there. So as you can see, I blocked a lot of it out because I don't need to show my competition what I have here as far as the properties and where they're located. But this is a multi-site company that I'm working for with this particular property. And a couple things to think about. So if you're smaller, if you're just starting out, or if it's something that you want to get into yet, but you haven't yet, I would say a few things you want to, like, right off the bat is when you're getting into the commercial world and you're trying to get into some bigger sites like these and bigger money deals, then you want to think about a few things. You want to make sure that and this is a given, like that this stuff is already, like, if you don't have the basics of this, then you're not going to get in the door. You're not going to get in that sandbox to play with those other players that are going to do it properly like this. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're professional. When you get called to the table to bid something like this, you want to make sure that your guys are in uniform. Okay, see, have your logos. Make sure that your trucks are marked. Make sure that you have the proper insurance. Make sure that you guys are signed up for workers' comp, those types of things, and then have some references and things like that. Because the bottom line is that's already a given in the bigger commercial landscape world. So if you're not already doing that stuff, those are some of the areas, some of the low-lying fruit that you need to take care of before you get into this realm, because everybody else is already doing that. So, and in my market, that's a given for sure in the Cleveland market. Now, maybe it's a little different where you are, but I would probably bet that if you're looking at bigger properties with bigger dollar signs, that you're probably going to need to make sure that you've got some of the basics covered. And you also need the manpower. You need the ability to do the work. But when you get the job, then you're going to have the ability to pay the people to do the work, as long as you can train them and get them up to snuff as far as getting the right people on your team. So I want to get back to this job a little bit and talk to you all, because a lot of people are like, well, yeah, you've been around for a long time. That's how you get these things. Well, yes, and that is true. We've been around for over 20 some years, so it may be a little bit easier to get contracts that are over $100,000, but it takes a lot of time. So I'm gonna use this as an example, and I have a couple of properties like this. So this particular company, I have been calling, cold calling on them, sending emails, touching base with them for over 10 years. Okay, it's a long game sometimes, and they were very happy with who they had for a long time. But I would, when I went out cold calling, I would stop into their properties just to say hi and say, hey, we're still interested. We're still right down the street here. We're not far. We can come and do your property. And a lot of times the property managers would say, well, we're happy with who we have, and that's great. And then every year I would send an email to the bigger boss, the management company of these properties, the boss of the people that I'm talking to on the individual sites and just say, hey, we're still interested. You know, we'd love to have an opportunity to bid one of them. Just give us an opportunity at one. And that kind of keeps you in front of them. The other thing I like to do when I'm out there is I like to say, you know, we're already doing the property down the street. So we're already doing the office building, you know, 5 doors down. So we're in your neighborhood. Gives you some credibility. And if you don't have that credibility yet, then that's why I say maybe start a little bit smaller. So my point being is that you want to establish your credibility with this particular customer. You want to keep yourself in front of them, but not be a pest. You know, when I send out my emails or I stop into these sites, it's only, you know, once a year. So I might stop in one time a year. I might send an email out one time a year. And that doesn't create any animosity with that particular customer, at least not in my experience. You know, there's nothing wrong, I think, with stopping in and saying, hey, you know, we're still interested in your property. I'd love an opportunity. I think people understand that and they can relate to that. But sometimes it takes a long time. You know, this took me a long time to get this particular contract. And I have other properties that are very, very nice sized properties that took me a long time. And so let's delve into that a little bit. So why did it take so long for my company to pick up this multi-site $100,000 job? Part of the reason was they were happy with who they had, which I can understand. So I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to argue that with them when I go in there, but I'm just going to tell them, hey, we're here too. So if you ever need anything, just call me. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is people don't stay at their jobs forever. So in some of the cases, and I'm not saying it's this particular case, but in some of the cases, you may have a property manager who's been with that company for a long time and was managing those multiple properties, and that manager leaves. And so if you do your homework, like I always try to do, and you go on the website and you kind of look at the about page and find the people that are in charge of the properties, if that person has changed, that gives you an opportunity because that new person doesn't have a relationship with the old vendors. So that new person might take advantage of the opportunity that you're allowing them to say, hey, you know what, I will take a bid from you. Yeah, the other company's done a great job, but you know what, I'm new here and they don't always do a great job. So, and I'm not attached to them. So if they're not attached to them like the other person was, then you might have that opportunity. And that is kind of what happened with this property right here that I'm talking about. A new person took over. I happened to be knocking on the door again when that person took over, and it's consistency. You know, every year I would send an email out to the same people, and this year, not this year, but this was about 2 years ago when I picked up these properties, lo and behold, there's another person in charge. So that person gave me an opportunity. They gave me a shot. I can't tell you how many times that happens. So you need to keep in mind that it's a long game. Like sales is a long game. Sometimes it takes years, but you know what? It took me 10 years to get this property, to get the opportunity to bid on these properties. And now I don't plan on losing that. So after you get it, you have to make sure that you keep it and you deliver on your promises. So it's super important to kind of follow the whole process through. You can't just expect to get a bid, you know, your first time in the door. Sometimes you do, and sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes a long time. So with that being said, I just want you to keep in mind, sales is a long process. You know, picking up $100,000 job is definitely a feather in the cap. It's a great way to grow your business and to get your business, you know, to double, triple, or whatever it is that wherever you are right now in your sales process, or maybe it's only 10% or 5% or 1%, but it's still a lot of money and it's still worth going after. But make sure that when you go after it, you go after it in the right way. You have your resources, you're professional, you do your homework, you knock on the doors, you don't be much of a pain, but you knock on the doors and then you deliver when you're done, okay? So aside from that, I hope you guys are wrapping up the year strong. Please hit like, hit subscribe, ask me a question. I'd love to hear from you, and share the video if you can. All right, thanks. You guys have a great holiday.